So I have basically said this on every single video we have done in 2025, but I don't even care, man. You can come into my house and go, hey, man, you're such a nerd. I'm a nerd, and I have no problem with it. But 2025, when it comes to pro wrestling, is damn great. So we had Kenny Omega and all the AEW stuff, and that Japan weekend was pretty good, and the Raw Netflix debut. I mean, I understand there were sort of ups and downs. Of course, I would say that, but it was still pretty damn impressive. And now we get to the second Raw of 2025, and there we got back into the stories, the angles, and we had the characters, and we are building to this Raw Rumble, which we'll get to later on in this video, which genuinely could be one of the best Raw Rumbles of all time, or at least like an old school one. When you look at it just from a star power level, everybody is in it, and probably your Nan too. Now, hopefully it's not going to be my Nan, because she's been dead for about 10 years, so that'd be terrifying. I regret saying that, and I made myself laugh. I am sorry. We look to the sky, but yes, obviously the thing that everybody wants to get into is that Penta, or Pentagon, or Penta L0. He's had about 42 different variations of Penta, but he debuted on Monday Night Raw last night with WWE, and it was just fantastic. Now, I said on ups and downs, make sure you check it out over on What Culture, and please do subscribe to me too, the button is right there, that it was the best debut of 2025. I said it somewhat facetiously, because there hasn't been any time to do any debuts, but I think we get to the end of the year, and it's going to be right up there. This crowd was super into him, given his character, his gimmick. The entrance was just fantastic. I had the lights, he was stood down there with the spotlight on him. Obviously, the mask is damn cool. And obviously some people have said, oh, he's the most charismatic luchador ever, or whatever you want to say. Get rid of the luchador part. He's just a really sort of cool, fun, interesting, I want to watch him guy, which is the secret sauce of pro wrestling. Also had an absolutely fantastic match with Chad Gable, and I am glad that Chad got a promo time beforehand where he was able to say, oh, I'm going to try and win a singles championship. He said he will win a singles championship in 2025 because he should. That man has been on fire now for a good couple of years. Obviously, we just kind of flew away from the IC stuff with Gunther, which was a shame, but that's okay as long as we get to it eventually, especially because he's a super duper mega heel now, and I think that fits him better. We're getting off track here, but I just think he's way better in that realm. He was a good babyface. I think he's an excellent heel, so I would stay in that lane for a while. But yeah, the Canadian Destroyer or the Mexican Destroyer that he sold, like he'd been tombstoned. It was wonderful. Penta snaps the arm, which of course, if you're nerds like us, we get excited about. He hits the Penta driver. Always enjoy it when a wrestler just goes, I'm taking the name of another move and putting my own name in front of it. 1, 2, 3. But maybe the best part, and this is what WWE always tries to lean on, is the promo afterwards. He's happy to be here. He was emotional. We saw his damn kids in the front row crying. So if you saw all of that and you weren't behind this guy, which is perfectly fine, Penta is probably never going to be for you. But even his merchandise is awesome. Now, $75 for a mask is absolutely absurd, but it will sell. I want to get into the chat we had a few weeks ago about the idea of worth, but if you put something on sale for $79 and you sell out, then you arguably could charge more because you sold out of them. But both t-shirts he's got, the man is just a merchandise mover, and if we do treat him in the right way and we put him in the right feuds and we give him some championships, who knows what his ceiling is. Now, the first thing I saw, because I try not to go on social media until I've done the review, I don't like my brain to get sort of scattered around with other people's opinions, which happens, we're human beings. But the first thing I saw was, oh my gosh, Pentagon botched his springboard leg drop. So I watched it and I was like, that's the most minor thing I've ever seen in my life. He was a bit wibbly wobbly. He's probably a bit nervous, and that is ignoring the 95% of the match, which was spot on. I don't want to call it perfect because it would actually be worse if it was perfect. You want a bit of realism in there, but it was a super fun match. He worked WWE style, if you want to call it that, and it was perfectly fine. Although we were still getting crazy German suplexes on the ring apron and at the ring post spot, so I guess that is kind of WWE style these days. But in terms of tying into the people that are going to know who he is, and B, the people that probably aren't aware, although I think most people were, I don't see how you could have warned this guy, or at least be like, oh, I'm intrigued and I want to see what's going to happen next. I'm also done with all this, oh, AEW should have treated him better kind of a deal. Now, I'm not talking about behind the scenes stuff. I don't know what happened there, so I don't want to comment on it. But in terms of what we did in front of a camera, sure, could we have pushed Penta more? Absolutely. But we still did loads with him and Phoenix, which is why he got such a big reaction here. And the only reason I like to double down on that is because you wouldn't be able to pull this kind of stuff off if AEW didn't exist. Go back 10 years. This died a death and it sucked. And really, we didn't have it from the WCW era, really, if we're going to go into it there. And there are many reasons why I'm happy that All Elite Wrestling exists, but this is a huge one. Because when you do have someone who is presented the same way, like Cody has the same music, you're like, I understand what world I'm living in. This is totally crazy, and it gets your tum-tum to do great things. So I also hate that that's the bandwagon we jump on. I just find it way too negative. Let's just enjoy this cool, positive thing we have in WWE. But of course, you're allowed your own opinions. I'm just throwing my 2 cents in there as well. But excellently done. I mean, the rumor was we were going to do it it last week. Don't think it made a difference, all things considered. And there is a piece of information, news, speculation, whatever you want to call it, out there saying that maybe Penta went too long or his promo went too long. Kind of feels weird to me, given that Raw was only 2.5 hours, which was also a huge plus. But then again, you know, the powers that be, Triple H, do have to time out the show. They can't just go, well, we've timed out for 2.5, we'll just go 2 hours 42. I would imagine beforehand they have to decide, but I'm a big fan of the flexible time rate. But either way, the promo was so good and it was so emotional. Even if Penta did get his hand slapped, I think as long as he ironically puts his hands up and goes, I'm sorry, I did get carried away, all is going to be fine. And again, that's probably a bunch of poppycock and more for me and more shame on my bald head for bringing it up. But fantastic, excellent. I mean, I guess he could feud with Champ Gable to begin with, but I don't know. Rey Mysterio put him over massive as well, which is a big deal, especially within the confines of WWE. I don't really know what you do. I mean, Braun Breaker needs a new opponent because apparently we're going to be Sheamus versus Braun for the IC Championship at Satellite's main event in 2 weeks. Also doing Gunther versus Jey Uso, which we'll talk about, but either way, I don't care. You can get any story over and you can get any story to click as long as you double down on it and you invest in it and you allow it to play out. And WWE has been very good at that recently. So yes, a huge thumbs up from me. And of course, a golden up on What Culture if you want to check that out. I was thinking, what else could you have possibly done? I don't know. I don't think there is anything. My favourite part, I'm repeating myself, is Michael Cole going, oh, it's the worst kept secret. It wasn't a secret. You wrote his name on the screen. That's not what you do. Like, I'm going to tell you a secret. Where are you going to show me? On this giant cinema screen that everyone can see. It's not a secret. You put it out there. When you put something out there, it's not a secret anymore. And I know you're saying, Simon, why are you so mad about this? I'm not, but for some reason it riles me up. So yes, huge tick there. And I think it's a huge tick for the opening segment as well, because we're just making the Royal Rumble out to be such a big deal. Because not only is CM Punk declared, he talks about Cena's who's in it. Seth Rollins comes out and says, well, Punk, you did beat me, but you're still a piece of trash. Now I'm going to ruin your dreams by stopping you from winning the Royal Rumble. Then you can't go to WrestleMania. When Drew comes out, and now he hates Seth again, because Seth didn't try and stop Roman Reigns last week, which apparently was meant to be Seth Rollins' big thing. And even though he did dedicate himself to that CM Punk match, he still lost. Therefore, Drew will carry on his crusade, and he is now going to take Roman Reigns out of the Rumble instead. This was excellent, because we still don't know what the WrestleMania main events are. I am far more likely to believe that it is CM Punk, that it is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, just because of all the other people that are flaming around. But if you did do Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, but you could also do Drew versus Roman Reigns. Like, you could, and you can argue maybe you want something with a bit more gravitas, but Drew McIntyre's had an amazing 2024 and early 2025. I think that's got the secret sauce. Do you do Seth Rollins versus CM Punk again? Does Seth Rollins go after Roman Reigns? Because we want to see the end of that feud. We never really sort of put a bow on it. And the way that they all talk to each other and the way they all sort of enhance each other's star power and the fact they're all like, my gosh, the Royal Rumble's so important. The Royal Rumble's going to change my life. This is great stuff. Because there have been some years in the past where you've watched those Royal Rumbles, you're like, oh, this is laborious. Nobody can win. Like, there's just no chance you're going to give it to a Santina Marella. I love Santina Marella. One of the most underrated characters in history. But the old WWE was just never going to do that. Whereas if Punk won, you'd get it. Cena won, you'd get it. Drew won, you'd get it. Seth won, you get it. Roman won. My gosh, people probably expect that. And I understand Cody is the champion, but he'd be another guy you could move in there. People would buy it. Gunther, another one. Even a Jey Uso, and I'll just segue into that right now because I don't want to call it a negative. I did laugh because this was essentially a man walking out to another man and going, Geese title shot. And I do going, yeah, sure, I'll Geese you a title shot. You know how I feel about that. It's one of my bugbears in wrestling. I think you just take an extra week and you inject it with some story. But these two guys totally smashed it. Gunther just sort of laughing at Jey Uso like, you're not a challenge to me, boy, but I'll take you on anyway. And then Jey Uso just cutting the most impassioned promo that he has done. Do not forget, this guy is over already. He could probably come out and read the phone book and it would be fine. But because he did kind of tie into these criticisms that people do have on him, oh, you shouldn't be the top guy. You shouldn't be the top merch seller. You are just a tag team person. And he was like, man, that's why I get up every day, to prove myself. This was wonderful stuff. And again, it'd been so much better if we come up with it in a different way and it wasn't happening in 2 weeks. So I think Jey Uso versus Gunther could be a super big deal. But that's just me being a geek, man. I actually care. What I'm far more excited about is, well, it's twofold. I'm excited about that match, but again, there is this urge of disappointment because if you did invest more time into it, maybe you could make me believe that Jey Uso is going to beat Gunther, but he's not. But at the same time, you can flip side reverse that. He is going to be in the main event fighting for the world title. That is an incredible journey he's been on ever since Jimmy and Jay did go on to singles action. I just love him. I just want to be Jey Uso's friend. Don't care that it sounds weird. And you do have to load that show up, right? I don't know whether WWE were happy with the first ratings or not, but they want to make sure they improve. That's the whole point. And also, it's where they are on network TV now. They got cable with SmackDown. That's their network. Obviously, Netflix streaming is the streaming part of everything, which is a stupid thing for me to say. But, having that and having Sheamus versus Bron Breakker for the IC title, and you could do a title change there. I don't think they will, but you could. And of course, we had Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. I actually think I could watch them fight forever, which is a dumb thing to say, but I realized when Sheamus takes on Bron Breakker again, I may be exaggerating, but it feels like a combination of these three have been fighting for 4 months? Maybe 5, maybe 3, definitely since the Survivor Series, which was a long time ago, and I'm still not done with it. So if we did get to WrestleMania, and we actually did a Sheamus versus a Bron Breakker versus Ludwig part 92, I'd be like, great, keep giving it to me, especially if Bron Breakker keeps winning, because then you could have, arguably Sheamus, but it could be Ludwig too, get the victory there, then it would feel a bit different. I don't know what it is, I just think they have tremendous chemistry, and because they lay stuff in so violently, I suppose. Man, is it captivating stuff, and I've said this a few times. Last time I'll say it. Make sure you check out Sheamus on the Chris Van Vliet Inside podcast. The man is just wonderful, and he's totally passionate about wrestling, and I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. But that was good too. The Rhea Ripley Nia Jax Bayley stuff was a bit of a roller coaster. Never would have guessed it in a million years. These were the people that were going to interrupt. And it was a bit geese title shot again. Maybe that's what kind of popped into my brain, because Bayley kind of became, I don't know, Gollum. I'm saying the stuff I said on Ups and Downs, but that's the problem with doing 2 of these shows, I guess. I was all like, oh, I want that title all of a sudden. But she does have the Tiffany Stratton match first, and Nia Jax worked, because Nia Jax was a walking storyboard. She was like, I am entering the Rumble, so I can fight you or live, not live, Tiffany. And, you just told people that maybe aren't familiar with WWE how the Royal Rumble works. And listen, I don't mind. I don't want to do Rhea versus Nia again, only because we've seen that a lot. I enjoyed their matches, but you don't need to go back to it. But Rhea versus Bayley is a really interesting match, and I'm happy to do that. Once again, I just come up with something different as opposed to someone just jumping the barricade. But the most important part, this segment was to almost hit reset with Rhea Ripley and remind everyone she is one of the biggest stars in the company. But again, on the other hand, let's make sure we do treat her like a Roman Reigns and a Cody Rhodes. And I understand that she's probably not at their level internally when they write down their sheets, but she has the potential to be, and I would like her to push in that direction. It was still entertaining, right? As with the street fight, as I do a mad jump. That Damian Priest Finn Balor as a way to draw a line under a feud, and now I think one should be on Raw and one should be on SmackDown. Really good, because we've basically told you the Judgment Day are going to break up because Finn and Liv are just the most sarcastic people to each other, although they were talking this week, so that's good. They've had a breakthrough in that regard. But the War Raiders got involved, the rest of the Judgment Day got involved. The Falcon Arrow threw a table off a box-like structure. Dude, what I really loved about this is we just didn't sell it as, haha, we're doing fun street fight stuff. The medics were there. They put Finn Balor on a stretcher. Damian Priest sold it like he couldn't get his footing, like he knocked himself out. We put a neck brace on Finn. And it's only because Damian Priest is a psychopath that he wasn't taken to a local medical facility, because he pushed Finn Balor down the aisle and he went smashing into the ring. I don't know who came up with that spot. I don't know whether it's something that WWE is going to do going forward, or whether it was Damian Priest and Finn Balor who were like, we've got an idea. It was so good, though, because it moves the street fight away from something we do see a lot on all wrestling television and tell you, oh no, this is serious. Somebody could get hurt. And it took up 3 minutes of TV time? That's good stuff. That's good wrestling selling. And again, if we keep doing that, you will completely change the vibe of a street fight to the point where it does get announced. Everyone's going to be like, wait, what? Do a street fight? Someone's going to die. Obviously, Damian Priest got the win. I don't think that was in jeopardy, but I would move Finn Balor. I should have mentioned him when I did my 10 things WWE should do in 2025, which you can watch. We put it live. But I've got this big idea to sort of put people like Drew and Sami and Jey, and I can't remember who else I said now, onto SmackDown. Chad Gable will be one, but Finn Balor should be one too, because I just think if you're moving Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, the quote-unquote faces of the company, around more, they can go on there and they'll totally smash it, and they'll do such a good job. And Finn Balor is that guy. So is Damian Priest, to be honest. I just think you need to separate them for obvious reasons. But I love how Damian Priest has been pushed this year. He can destroy people, and we all go, yeah, damn right, because he's a super over, mega, excellent babyface. So that feud has been elongated, but it achieved what it should have achieved. So I have no issues with it whatsoever. And Lyra Valkyria became the first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. This was a win-win or a no-lose for me, because if Dakota Kai got it, I'd be like, you're damn right. And Lyra getting it, I was like, you're damn right. I would have liked it if it had got more time, but this is very much a case of, well, what are you getting and how do we get the most out of it? They just went crazy for like 9 or 10 minutes, and the pace of the thing, and the, here we go, back back and forth nature of it, I actually thought allowed it to stand out more than maybe turning it into I don't know what you want to call it, but a more stereotypical, who's going to win the championship sort of a match. And when Dakota Kai hit a finisher, like Valkyria did the wrestling popular move at the moment, which is I'll roll out the ring. They're going to go crazy with it in 2025, all companies, that is. You can't debate this because we can't say that it's not been a good idea that we've overdone it. The crowd audibly gasped. They knew what Dakota's finish was. They knew this was bad, and they probably anticipated the finish, which did happen, got back in the ring. There was that sling blade where they splashed into each other, and then Lara hits the Nightwing and gets the 1, 2, 3. I just think it's awesome. Her sort of wrestling pathway has been totally crazy. So to get such a high on Monday Night Raw, especially because she got called up well from NXT, and then it just lost life entirely. Now to get to January and to rev it back up, I would try and do a rematch here if you can. I understand we're copying what we did on SmackDown, but I think both guys can benefit. And then let's get the conveyor belt going. Let's take the people that need the spotlight, like a Zoe Stark, a Sonya Deville, a Shayna Baszler. I understand they're all in the same group, but they did mention the IC title. But let's take more people like this and just get that championship feeling like something, because it's the same with the US belt. I think we have something special here. Absolutely, promotions have too many championships, but even then, they ain't going to go away. So I'd rather the promotions led into this and just did the best job possible. And even right now, the women's division feels like it has. I don't think you should over rely on championships. Becky Lynch said this. You can just come up with good stories, but sometimes that does come and go, like the Rhea Ripley stuff. She should be involved in better stories right now, and she will be, don't get me wrong, but it would just be great if we got there quicker. But at least this acts as a prize, a title. It gives people motivation, and it gives them a reason to care, and therefore the audience will care, and that's the best thing about wrestling. So yeah, huge fan. And Lara Valkyria, man, again, I'm just going to say it twice. Awesome journey, very inspirational. I've deliberately left this one till late because I talked about it straight off the bat on ups and downs, but my whole life came crashing down as well because it was The Miz versus Sami Zayn. It didn't go very long, maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. And Sami Zayn won with the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunder Bomb. Now, I got a lot of joy out of this because I woke up and my social media was flooded with people going crazy. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. I put something on social media about this. I never really sort of think about how many people are watching. Maybe I should, but I always assume, I'm sure nobody watches, which is a silly thing to say. I understand that. So to get that kind of reaction, you can't beat it. It's the best thing ever. So I shall give you a thumbs. But it depends what we're doing here, because he did use this move in Saudi Arabia to beat AJ Styles or whatever the flub it was, and it hasn't come back till now, like 2 years ago. So this is either a wink wink nudge nudge, because even Michael Cole referenced it on commentary, so he knows it's not just me, or maybe someone is maybe Sami Zayn himself has gone, man, let's make a good point, I probably could use it as a finish. So I'm very excited, because either I'm going to be wonderfully proven wrong, and man, more power if that happens, I'll be over the moon, or it'd be the biggest win of my life, which is a dumb thing to say. But I actually think the real talking point here is that everybody kept mentioning, Sami Zayn, you never won a WWE title, which I don't think is by fluke. I mean, he had that interaction with Seth Rollins where Sami proved he was an awful friend, didn't text him, waited a week saying, are you upset about that CM Punk loss? And Seth just tore him apart saying, man, you're just like Roman Reigns' lapdog. And listen, you can argue that both ways. It's a very good story. And obviously he had the match with The Miz because The Miz and Karrion Kross insulted him for the same thing. But I don't think we're doing this for fun, my friends. I think that Sami Zayn is going to win a WWE title at some point in 2025. And given that SmackDown conversation, it could be off Kevin Owens. How we get there, I do not know. It would be really difficult, but I'm going to throw it out there. But when Sami finally does do that, I mean, this all kicked off. It's been there for a while, but the Elimination Chamber 2023, I would presume, the one that was in Montreal when it was Roman versus Sami, that's when it really kicked into gear. And if the ultimate payoff is that, it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be something we talk about for ages. Much like when he won the NXT title, and then, yes, Kevin Owens murdered him and left him in a bloody mess. But all the undercurrent stuff going on with WWE and the way they use their top stars to push forward all these stories is really good, and it's why I preferred this episode to last week. Last week certainly had some highlights to take away from it, but this felt more like I've tuned into my weekly soap opera, and I want to see what's going to happen next. And actually, before we do go, shout out to Dominic Mysterio for being the funniest guy on this show. Liv Morgan is all like, clearly I'm mad at you. And he's like, great. He doesn't care at all, even though Liv did the whole, I'm not annoyed, I don't care. He is great, man. He totally understands his character. He's such a nerd in the best possible way. But because he is so committed, by, let's go 2030, we'll give it a good 5 years, he will absolutely be the world champion. I'll be astounded if he's not. He ticks all the boxes, and he's got so much better in the ring, and he just knows how to click with people. I love that. Made me laugh out loud. And the New Day are finally getting a match next week. I was getting a bit irked about that too. When they came up to another promo, I was like, these guys are great. You can give them, I don't know, a chessboard, and they'll figure out a way to make it interesting. But we need to capitalize on this momentum from their heel turn. I have no idea who they are facing, but they should win, and they should be in a tag team title match during the later to win those belts, and they should become the worst people ever. Just cheat, awful. Some people are still acting like Kofi Kingston can't be a heel. They can't be watching the show. He's fantastic. Xavier Woods is fantastic. I like them. What does that say about me? I'm a terrible person. But a real fun episode of Raw. I think it would get you excited about the Netflix era if you are that way inclined. And I love watching on Netflix. To give you my own personal story, obviously SmackDown's on Netflix in the UK as well. It's so effortless. It's so easy. Sometimes I like to rewatch bits. I mean, obviously, you know, you could do this on the old apps that I had because it used to air on TNT Sports, formerly BT Sports over here. But just the way the Netflix, you can watch it in fast speed and spoil everyone with your finger on your phone. It's just effortless, and it makes me doing my content so much easier, and it's just so much fun to watch. And because I am watching it on my phone, which has an amazing screen, oh my gosh, all this new technology they brought in, it makes them look so big league. And I totally, maybe I'll do a video on this, I totally disagree with this, oh my gosh, they're so far ahead of everybody else is screwed. No, I think it gives you an opportunity to make your own look something special. I don't mind a wrestling show looking gritty and a bit old school. That just means when I do tune in, I'm like, well, it's definitely not WWE. There are some people out there, some genuinely intelligent voices, and of course I respect their opinion. I just don't get it. Who are like, oh man, which is AEW as always. They're totally boned because they don't have the production volumes of WWE. What are you talking about? It just means, again, they can come up with a real unique look, and that will make me more excited about watching AEW, not less. I get I'm the outlier here because I'm going to watch it regardless, but I think that's crapping on a casual fan. You think a casual fan needs to be wowed by production value, otherwise they won't watch anything? So the difference between a Hollywood blockbuster and an indie film, I think we are, what's the word I'm looking for? But we are breaking down potential wrestling fans into some weird bucket where we think they're a bunch of worms. Of course it's awesome. Like when you sit down and watch a Marvel film, well, sometimes with Marvel films, sometimes not, but you look at the CGI, it's a terrible analogy. The point is you're meant to look at the CGI and go, wow, it looks amazing. But then if I go and watch some indie movie, The Boy with His Backpack, I don't expect any of that, and I expect maybe a bit more nuance, a bit more depth, and a bit more emotion, whatever it is. I like both. I don't go, well, they haven't CGI'd his hat on, so I don't like it. You can enjoy both of these things. I don't know why I'm going on a rant about this. Just think it's a dumb thing to say, okay? I do, but of course, I shouldn't say that. You're absolutely allowed to have your opinion, but I think it opens up more doors for professional wrestling, so that if you do fall in love with WWE, and then it's like when you get into metal, right? Say you like to start listening to Metallica, the best band ever, maybe eventually you want to go to Gojira, but you have to go through Metallica to get to them. You still like Metallica, so maybe some people watch WWE, and they do want a different flavor of wrestling. AEW should lean into that. Yes, bro, we're completely different. I'm going to end it there because I don't know what I'm ranting and raving about. But as you are here, if you are here, probably turned off, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is my 10 things WWE should do in 2025. Don't just say subscribe, do that the most, and click the notification bell. Just interact as much as possible. All my socials, my Cameo, all my other stuff that I do are down there as well. And it's prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. And of course, money off pre-workout at the moment over at grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get that discount. 10% off anything. These are the best supplements ever, and I would not pimp them out if I wasn't such a big fan. And yes, they do help the channel too, so I massively appreciate it. But, my friends, that was a way too loud of a but. I apologize. Keep enjoying professional wrestling, and I'll see you soon.